Expanded exhaustive concordance of the Bible by our red letter edition by James Strong's, and it's been expanded here. So, American Dictionary of the English Language by Noah Webster, 1828. Okay, I want to start by sharing with y'all the word lovers of self. So, you just open to where phileo is mentioned, which means fondness. And so what we're going to look at here is we're going to look at philatos. Auto is self, like an automobile means self-mobile. So it says fond of self, that is selfish. Okay, so what this has to do with, we're going to look in the dictionary now, and we're going to look at what it means to capital. Capital, right? Like capitalism or capitalize, make capital. Well, it says here, it says Latin capitis from caput, the head, literally pertaining to the head as a capital bruise, in Milton, a bruise on the head. Figuratively, as the head is the highest part of a man, chief, principal, first in importance as a capital city or town, the capital articles of religion. So people have their selves in mind. That's what capitalism is about, is distributing fortunes to the self. And what we just looked up is philatos, which means a lover of self. And Christ said we're supposed to deny self. So this will have to do with being chief or being first or being on the top. Like a person of, like a pretty woman you might say she lightens the room when she walks in, or they say that George Washington had everyone's attention when he walked in the room because of the way he carried himself. Capital stock is the sum of money or stock which a merchant, banker, or manufacturer employs in his business, either the original stock or the stock augmented. Also, the sum of money or stock which each partner contributes to the joint fund or stock of the partnership. Also, the common fund or stock of the company, whether incorporated or not. A capital city or town in the metropolis, and I put Eve, mother of the people. That's what metropolis means, is mother of the people, or chief city of an empire, kingdom, state, or province. The application of the epithet indicates the city to be the largest or to be the seat of government, or both. In many instances, the capital, that is, the largest city, is not the seat of government. Capital, so here we go. So right here under capital, it says a stock in trade, and manufacturers are in any business requiring the expenditure of money with a view to profit. Now the scripture calls Babylon the mother of all harlots, and we see in the scripture that it's characterized as the golden head, and we just looked at one of the meanings of capital as head. So when we think of arche, or like an archetype or an archangel, that means the first type or the chief type, or the beginning type, as when it says that Satan was the father of lies. He was a murderer and liar from the beginning, and he calls them the father of the Pharisees, the scribes, and the Sadducees, which are the ones who come out of the institutions. And we see Eve characterizes this as the alma mater, or the metropolitan, who mothers the people and taught them the serpent doctrine. So we see that just keeps repeating itself. Eve brought the serpent doctrine to Adam, so it just repeats itself. We get institutionalized, and we keep falling victim to tradition, victim to tradition, just like it has been ever since the garden. And it was resurrected. Adam and Eve worship was resurrected by Babylon, and it carried down to Persia, Greece, Rome, Roman Catholicism, then Protestantism, and then Frontier Revivalism, and now it's even going down to what they're calling the home church movement. But it's still just this wicked system. It's not exalting Christ. So we're going to look up profit now, because we read that a capitalist, a man who has a capital or stock in trade, usually denoting a man of large property, which is or may be employed in business. So this is actually talking about profit right here, money with a view of profit. And as we said, loving self, you're going to want self to profit. That is the way it goes. So I'm going to look up profit. I meant to mark the page, but I guess I forgot. All right, so PROF. Okay, so profit right here. All right, it says profito from profectus, proficio to profit, literally to proceed forward, to advance. Pro and facio, the primary sense of facio is to urge, as in work, right? Or drive, ergos. And we've done studies on that, liturgy and theurgy and different forms of the work and the way that God works through us or Satan works through us. It can't be both. In commerce, the advance in the price of goods sold beyond the cost of purchase. Net profit is the gain made by selling goods at an advanced price, or a price beyond what they had cost the seller, and beyond all costs and charges. The profit of the farmer and the manufacturer is the gain made by the sale of produce or manufacturers after deducting the value of the labor materials. So anyways, usury, overpricing. It's not like we're trying to help each other when when the money gets involved and they force the money system on us, which causes us to be forced into a system that grinds people who are trying to be humble to powder because we don't want to be hierarchical or monarchical like the warlords, or monarchical like the Nicolaitans were the conquerors and the lovers to conquer. Philonachia, I believe that is. So to love to conquer, or the conquering laity, or we could look at it as the oligarchy, because of the aristocrats and noblemen, which are the educated men who are under the monarch, but the monarch is just the image who serves the people who are the noblemen and the educated class elite, and they just put someone on the front. A monarch could not survive without a network of people working under him. And these are the men who shine. And we're going to look at Venus here, and we see that from these same words we get words like venom and poison, which reminds us of Circe, because she gave the world to drink of her cup. And that's what she gave people to drink of her cup and transformed them into swine. And that's why we see in Revelations that the woman defiled the nations, the whore of Babylon defiled the nations, and they drank from her cup. So it says venom and poison, and we see all these different meanings, whiten, but we go further down, and even hunter is one of the ideas, venur, to hunt, and Nimrod was the hunter, right? So that's interesting connection. And it says the Greek name of Venus was Aphrodite. So, and it has the idea of to shine. So we'll see that down here. It says, in mythology, a goddess of beauty and love. That is, beauty or love deified. And isn't that what men do? Don't they worship things that are beautiful, like their cars and their houses? And the aristocrats won't be seen outside of those nice houses and nice cars. They find it repulsive if it's not really expensive, and you have to glow, right? You have to be the light bearer, which is what Venus was. Just as the Galaic and Irish Diana, swiftness, impetuosity, is denominated the goddess of hunting. In astronomy, one of the inferior planets whose orbit is between the Earth and Mercury, a star of brilliant splendor. And that's why they call these people stars, because they shine above. Okay, so I'll put over here worshiping silver and shining things as God rather than Yahweh. And then the morning star, Satan tries to look like Christ, and Christ said, I'll give you the morning star. And Peter said, let as the day dawn and the day star rise in your heart. So, okay, we look at philatos, and now let's look at love of preeminence here in the concordance again, because people love to be preeminent. So let's look at what that means, and that's the word philoproteo, and it says to be fond of being first. Arche, right? Or capital. You want to be the capital. You want to get the most money. You want to be the head. Christ is the head. Diotrephes loved to have the preeminence. He wanted to be the head of the body, but the head of the body is Christ, who is the arche. He is the first. He is the chief, the proteo. So to be fond of being first, that is ambition of distinction. Sounds like the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, right? And the ones who love to conquer. I wonder if Philonachia is right here. Oh, right here it is, Philanakia, to love strife, to love war, quarrelsomes, right? That is to dispute. And philarguria, that word arguria right there is where we get our word argue. You know what? Let me take a side note of that real quick, and we'll look in this dictionary, and we'll look up the word argue. Argue, argue. Hey, and that takes us to another point I wanted to make too. So this works out. Argue. All right, we're almost there. Hold tight, please. All right. Argue. From Latin arguo, to show, argue, accuse, or convict. Arguere. Arguere, the radical sense of argue is to urge, drive, press, or struggle. Hey, we saw that in the definition over there in capital, remember? To reason, to invent and offer reasons to support or overthrow a proposition. So to war, right? Philonakia, to debate or discuss, to treat by reasoning, as the council argued the cause before the Supreme Court. The causes were argued to prove or evince, to manifest by inference or deduction, or to show reasons for, as the order visible in the universe argues a divine cause. To persuade by reasons, as to argue man into different opinion, formally to accuse or charge with, a Latin sense now obsolete, as to argue one of profaneness. So to shine, that's what it means. That's what it comes from. And as we saw in this word capital, we saw that it said that about to urge, right? So capitalism even has the idea of to, you know what? I'm sorry. I can't remember what definition that was that we looked at. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. That was in Venus. So that's where we saw that. Sorry about that. Yeah, so. Oh, actually, no, it's not. What word was that? Sorry guys, I can't think of what word that was. So, anyways, we're gonna look at the word apportion. And apportioner is going to have to do with some of the other words we're going to look at. It says, the act of apportioning, a dividing into just portions or shares, a dividing and assigning to each proprietor his just portion of an undivided right or property. So these apportioners, these firsts, these rulers who want the chief seats, they apportion who they think deserves the reputation. And they love shining and they love silver, as we saw in the same definition of the ones who love the preeminence, like Diotrephes. It says, love of money. The main distinction between pleonexia, covetousness, and philarguria, love of money, is being that between covetousness and avarice, the former having a much wider and deeper sense being, and it goes on. So the covetous man is often cruel as well as grasping, while the avaricious man is simply miserly and stinting. So avaricious means a miserly desire for gain. And then, so love of self, love of preeminence, love of money, these all have to do with the three gifts of the tree. She saw that the tree was good for food, it was pleasant to the eyes, and it was desirable to make one wise. And then it's repeated, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. Well, lust means to breathe hard after, like, I gotta have this shiny things for my flesh so I can be popular and nice clothes. And lust of the eyes, like, man, I gotta have what I'm looking at. I gotta have that shiny stuff. And then desire to the eyes, we're gonna look at a word that's called alazania. It sounds kind of like lasagna. That's a good way to remember it. So let me see. I thought I marked it. Okay, alazania, it says self-confidence. That's why people don't trust in God. They trust in themselves, lovers of self, philatos. And they war with people who say, like, you should obey God, right? Or you should be equal with men. Isn't that what communion means? Communion means an equaling out, equal with one another. It's translated boasting and pride. Alazania is the practice of an alazan and denotes quackery, hence arrogant display or boastings. But now you rejoice in your boastings. All such rejoicing is evil, James 4:16. And pride, for all that is in the world, the breathing hard after the flesh, the lust of the flesh, and the breathing hard after of the eyes, the things we see, and the pride of life, the boasting of life. Like, look at how good we do. Look at us. We do great. The aristocrats, the learned men, the ones with flattering titles, the ones who use flattering speech. is not of the Father, but is of the world. 1 John 2:16. The real jewel of this resource right here is that it includes all of this right here. It includes the numbers from the BAGD, which is the Greek literature of the early Christian church, or the Greek lexicon and early writings from the Christian church, and the Theological Dictionary of the New Testament by Gerard Kittle, and the Thayer Greek lexicon. It gives you the numbers and the references in there. So that's what makes this book really good. Like, this is the first volume, the 226 page. This is the 24C or 34C entry, and this is 25A entry in these different books. So this is a really good concordance. Someone gave this back to me. I was so happy.